2 months. That is all it takes to completely change the direction of your life. Not because life suddenly becomes easier, but because most people waste years doing nothing while disciplined people change everything through focused action. In the next 60 days, you can rebuild your mindset, your habits, your body, your confidence, your focus, and your future. But only if you stop waiting. Stop making excuses. Stop living distracted. This audiobook is not motivation. It is a wake-up call. Because if you stay consistent for the next 2 months, your old life will not recognize you anymore. Chapter 1. Your current life is the result of your daily decisions. Look at your life honestly, not emotionally, not defensively. Honestly, the life you're living right now is the result of your daily decisions. Your habits created it. Your mindset created it. Your routines created it. Your excuses created it. That truth is difficult for most people to accept because accepting responsibility removes the comfort of blaming everybody else. And we people love blame. They blame luck. They blame timing. They blame their childhood. They blame the economy. They blame other people. Meanwhile, disciplined people are changing their life quietly while everybody else is complaining. Listen carefully. Your future is not built in one dramatic moment. It is built in small daily decisions repeated over and over again. Every morning matters. Every habit matters. Every hour matters. Every excuse matters. Because repetition creates your reality. If you repeat distractions daily, you build a distracted life. If you repeat laziness daily, you build a weak future. If you repeat discipline daily, you build power. Simple. But most people never think long-term. They live emotionally. They chase comfort. They avoid responsibility. And slowly their life becomes the result of neglected discipline. Understand this clearly. Nobody accidentally becomes successful, and nobody accidentally destroys their potential either. Everything is built through repeated behavior. The problem is that most bad habits feel harmless in the moment. One wasted morning, one extra hour scrolling, one day skipping work, one more excuse, one more delay. It seems small, but repeated daily, small weakness becomes a destroyed future. That is how people lose years. Not instantly, gradually. Comfort quietly ruins lives. And the most dangerous thing about comfort is that it feels safe while it destroys your potential. Comfort tells you to sleep longer. Comfort tells you to wait until tomorrow. Comfort tells you to avoid difficult work. Comfort tells you to stay average. And average becomes permanent when repeated long enough. That is why discipline matters so much. Discipline interrupts self-destruction. Discipline changes direction. Discipline rebuilds identity. Most people want motivation, but motivation is temporary. Discipline is what changes lives. Because disciplined people act whether they feel like it or not. They execute without excuses. They stay focused without constant emotional stimulation. That is power. And right now, your habits are either building your future or destroying it. There is no neutral. Every day is moving you somewhere, closer to strength or closer to regret. Look at your current routine honestly. What are you repeating every day? Complaining? Procrastinating? Scrolling endlessly? Avoiding responsibility? Making excuses? Then do not act surprised when your life stays the same. Your actions are predicting your future. And the painful truth is this. Most people already know what they should do. They just refuse to do it consistently. They know they should wake up earlier. They know they should exercise. They know they should stop wasting time. They know they should study more. Work harder. Focus more. But knowledge without execution changes nothing. Nothing. A weak routine creates a weak life. A disciplined routine creates a powerful life. That is why your next 60 days matter so much. Because 60 days of focused discipline can completely change your momentum. Think about that. 2 months. That is enough time to rebuild habits. Enough time to rebuild confidence. Enough time to rebuild mental strength. Enough time to become unrecognizable compared to who you are today. But only if you stop sabotaging yourself daily. Most people destroy themselves in private and then wonder why they suffer in public. They waste mornings, waste focus, waste energy, waste opportunities, then complain about results. That must stop now. If you want a different life, you need different standards. Higher standards. Because your standards control your actions, and your actions control your future. Weak standards create weak behavior. Strong standards create discipline. So stop negotiating with your goals. Stop saying, "I'll start tomorrow." Tomorrow is the favorite excuse of average people. Tomorrow becomes next week. Next week becomes next year. And suddenly your entire life is filled with regret. Disciplined people understand something weak people never learn. Action creates momentum. The hardest part is starting. But once you begin building discipline daily, your entire identity starts changing. You think differently, move differently, speak differently, because now you're becoming someone who respects themselves. And self-respect changes everything. Listen carefully. You cannot hate your habits and love your future at the same time. Impossible. Your future is hidden inside your daily routine. Read that again in your mind. Your future is hidden inside your daily routine. Not your wishes, not your intentions, your routine. What you repeatedly do becomes who you become. That is why excuses are so dangerous. Excuses make weakness feel acceptable. Excuses protect bad habits. Excuses delay transformation, and every excuse keeps you trapped in the same cycle. No more excuses. No more blaming people. No more waiting for motivation. No more pretending you have time to waste. Because time is moving whether you change or not. In 60 days from now, one of two things will happen. Either you will still be the same person, or you will become someone stronger, more disciplined, more focused, more confident, more powerful. The decision is happening right now through your actions, not your words, your actions. That is why you must become obsessed with daily improvement, not perfection, improvement. One disciplined morning, one focused workout, one productive day, one repeated habit. That is how transformation begins, quietly, slowly, repeatedly, until suddenly your entire life changes direction. And understand this clearly. Nobody is coming to rescue your future. Nobody is coming to build your discipline for you. Nobody is coming to save your wasted time. You must take responsibility, completely, fully, without excuses. That is maturity. That is power. That is transformation. The moment you stop acting like a victim, you start becoming the architect of your future. And that is where real change begins. Because over the next 60 days, you are not just rebuilding habits. You are rebuilding yourself. But before you could transform your life, you must eliminate the biggest enemy destroying modern potential: distraction. And in the next chapter, you're going to learn why most people are not failing because they lack ability. They are failing because their attention is completely out of control. Chapter 2. Remove the distractions that are destroying your potential. Most people are not lazy. They are distracted. There's a difference. Lazy people do nothing. Distracted people do everything except what actually matters. And modern life is designed to destroy your focus. Constant notifications, constant entertainment, constant scrolling, constant noise. People wake up and immediately hand their attention away to strangers, social media, meaningless information, and endless distractions. Then they wonder why they feel mentally weak, why they cannot focus, why they cannot change their life. Listen carefully. Your attention is your most valuable asset. Whatever controls your attention controls your future. And right now, most people have completely lost control of their mind. They cannot sit quietly, cannot focus deeply, cannot work consistently, cannot stay disciplined for more than a few days because distraction has become their lifestyle. That is dangerous, very dangerous. A distracted person will never reach their potential. Never. Because success requires focus. Long focus. Focused energy. Focused repetition. Focused discipline. And distraction destroys all of it. Every time you interrupt yourself unnecessarily, you weaken your ability to concentrate. Every hour spent scrolling weakens your discipline. Every meaningless conversation drains mental energy. Every unnecessary distraction steals time from your future. And time is something you never get back. Understand this clearly. Most people are wasting years without realizing it. 1 hour becomes 1 day. 1 day becomes 1 month. 1 month becomes 1 year. And suddenly they look back wondering where their life went. It disappeared inside distractions. This is why focus is a superpower now. Because in a distracted world, the person who can concentrate deeply already has an advantage over almost everybody else. The world rewards focused people, not distracted people. Focused people build businesses, learn skills, transform their bodies, improve their mindset, create opportunities. Meanwhile, distracted people consume endlessly while their own life stays the same. That must stop now. If you truly want to change your life in the next 60 days, you must become ruthless with distractions. Ruthless, not casual, not temporary, aggressive, because distractions are stealing your future quietly. Start with your phone. Your phone is either a tool or a weapon destroying your attention span. And for most people, it is destroying them. Hours disappear inside scrolling. Energy disappears inside comparison. Confidence disappears inside constant consumption. People are watching everybody else live while neglecting their own life. That is weakness. Stop checking your phone every few minutes. Stop waking up and immediately scrolling. Stop consuming useless information all day. Protect your mornings especially. Your morning mindset controls the direction of your entire day. If the first thing you consume every morning is chaos, negativity, gossip, entertainment, and distractions, your mind becomes weak before the day even begins. Instead, build intentional mornings. Wake up early. Move your body. Read something valuable. Think clearly. Plan your day. Train your focus before the world distracts you. That is discipline. And understand this deeply. You do not need more information. You need more execution. Most people already know enough to improve their life, but they are addicted to consuming instead of creating, watching instead of building, learning instead of applying. That addiction keeps people stuck forever. Stop endlessly searching for motivation. Stop watching hundreds of videos without action. Stop pretending preparation is progress. Execution changes lives, not consumption. Listen carefully. Some distractions are not digital. Some distractions are people, negative people, lazy people, emotionally chaotic people, people who drain your energy every time they speak, people who gossip constantly, complain constantly, doubt constantly. Weak environments create weak habits. That is why your environment matters. Protect your energy aggressively. Not everybody deserves access to your attention. Not everybody deserves your time. And not everybody deserves your focus. Some people only exist to distract you from your purpose. Distance yourself, silently, without drama, because growth requires separation. You cannot become disciplined while surrounded by people addicted to excuses. You cannot become focused while constantly surrounded by noise. And you cannot change your life while remaining emotionally attached to distractions. This is where sacrifice becomes necessary. You may need to spend less time online, less time partying, less time gossiping, less time trying to impress people. Good, because temporary sacrifice creates permanent growth. Weak people fear missing out. Focused people fear wasting potential. There's a difference. One fears temporary discomfort. The other fears lifelong regret. Which person are you becoming? Ask yourself honestly. How many hours are disappearing every week inside meaningless distractions? How much energy are you giving to things that do not improve your life? How much focus are you wasting on people who are not building anything themselves? Be honest, because honesty creates transformation. Excuses create stagnation. And here's another painful truth. Distractions feel harmless because the damage happens slowly. Nobody ruins their future in one day. They ruin it gradually. One wasted evening at a time. One distracted morning at a time. One excuse at a time. Until eventually discipline disappears completely. That is why you must rebuild your attention intentionally. Train your focus like a muscle. Read longer. Work longer without interruption. Spend time alone without stimulation. Learn to sit quietly without needing constant entertainment. That is mental strength. Most people cannot do this anymore. Their mind is overstimulated. Their attention span is broken. Their discipline is weak. But the person who regains control of their focus regains control of their life. That is your goal for the next 60 days. Control your attention. Control your environment. Control your habits. Because where attention goes, your life follows. If your attention constantly flows toward distractions, your future weakens. If your attention flows toward growth, your future strengthens. Simple, but powerful. And remember this, you become what you repeatedly give your energy to. If you constantly feed your mind negativity, distractions, comparison, and entertainment, your life will reflect it. But if you feed your mind discipline, focus, growth, and purpose, transformation becomes inevitable. That is why focus changes everything. Focus builds momentum. Focus builds confidence. Focus builds discipline. Focus builds powerful lives. And for the next 60 days, your mission is clear. Remove the noise. Protect your energy. Eliminate unnecessary distractions. And become obsessed with execution. Because your potential is waiting on the other side of focused discipline. But focus alone is not enough. Now you must build routines strong enough to make success unavoidable. And in the next chapter, you're going to learn how powerful habits quietly create unstoppable transformation. Chapter 3, Build habits that make failure impossible. Your life changes when your habits change. Not your goals, not your intentions, not your motivation, your habits. Because habits are what you repeat when emotions disappear. And emotions always disappear eventually. That is why most people fail. They depend on motivation instead of systems. They depend on feelings instead of discipline. They wait until they feel ready. But successful people understand something average people never learn. You do not rise to the level of your motivation. You fall to the level of your habits. Read that again in your mind. You fall to the level of your habits. That means your daily routine is either building your future or quietly destroying it. Every repeated action matters. Every morning routine matters. Every disciplined decision matters. Because repetition creates identity. If you repeat weakness daily, weakness becomes who you are. If you repeat discipline daily, discipline becomes your identity. That is how transformation happens. Not instantly, repeatedly, quietly. Over time, most people are waiting for one big breakthrough. But powerful lives are built through small habits repeated consistently. Waking up early, training daily, reading daily, working without excuses, thinking clearly, protecting focus, sleeping on time, controlling emotions. Simple habits, repeated daily. That is what changes everything. And the truth is painful. Most people already know exactly what they should do. They just refuse to stay consistent long enough. They start strong, then disappear. They feel motivated for 3 days, then return to distractions. That cycle destroys confidence. Because every time you break promises to yourself, your self-respect weakens. And weak self-respect creates weak behavior. That is why consistency matters more than intensity. You do not need one perfect week. You need disciplined days repeated long enough to change your identity. Listen carefully. Small habits create massive outcomes. 1 hour of focused work every day becomes hundreds of hours every year. One workout every day transforms the body slowly. One chapter read every day becomes knowledge over time. One disciplined decision repeated daily changes your entire future. This is how successful people think. Long term, most people think emotionally. Disciplined people think strategically. They understand that every small action compounds, and compounding changes lives. The problem is that bad habits compound too. 1 hour wasted daily becomes years wasted eventually. One excuse repeated daily becomes permanent weakness. One distracted morning repeated long enough becomes a distracted life. That is why you must become extremely intentional about your routine. Your routine reveals your future. If your daily routine is chaotic, your future will become chaotic. If your daily routine is disciplined, your future becomes powerful. Simple, but difficult, because discipline requires sacrifice. And weak people hate sacrifice. They want results without discomfort, success without effort, transformation without changing habits. Impossible. Your current habits created your current life. So if you want a different life, you need different habits. Stronger habits. More disciplined habits. Habits that continue even when motivation disappears. Because motivation is unreliable. Some mornings you will feel tired. Some mornings you will feel doubt. Some mornings you will not feel inspired at all. Good. Do it anyway. That is where discipline is built. Real discipline is not waking up early once. It is waking up early repeatedly. Real discipline is not working hard occasionally. It is working hard consistently. That consistency creates momentum, and momentum changes everything. Once disciplined habits become automatic, your entire life becomes easier to control. Your mind becomes calmer. Your focus becomes stronger. Your confidence increases naturally, because now you trust yourself. That is the hidden reward of discipline. Self-trust. When you repeatedly keep promises to yourself, your identity changes. You stop seeing yourself as weak. You stop seeing yourself as lazy. You stop seeing yourself as someone who quits easily. Now you become someone reliable, someone focused, someone disciplined. That identity shift changes everything. Listen carefully. You cannot build a powerful future with weak routines. Impossible. A weak routine creates weak results. Late nights, constant distractions, no structure, no standards, no discipline. That lifestyle always creates regret eventually. But disciplined habits create freedom. Freedom from stress. Freedom from chaos. Freedom from regret. That is why discipline is not punishment. Discipline is self-respect. Every time you choose growth over comfort, you strengthen yourself. Every time you choose focus over distraction, you strengthen yourself. Every time you choose consistency over excuses, you strengthen yourself. That is how mentally strong people are created. One disciplined decision at a time. And understand something important. The beginning will feel uncomfortable, very uncomfortable, because your old habits will fight back. Your mind will crave comfort, crave distractions, crave excuses. That is normal, but you must continue anyway, because temporary discomfort creates permanent growth. Most people quit during the uncomfortable stage. That is why they never transform. But if you stay disciplined through discomfort, eventually your standards rise. And once your standards rise, your entire life rises with them. You stop tolerating weakness. Stop tolerating laziness. Stop tolerating wasted time, because now you understand the value of discipline. You understand that every day matters. Every habit matters. Every decision matters. And over the next 60 days, your mission is simple. Build habits that make failure impossible. Not impossible emotionally. Impossible structurally. Wake up early consistently. Train consistently. Work consistently. Protect your focus consistently. Even on difficult days. Especially on difficult days. Because difficult days reveal who you really are. Anybody can stay disciplined when life feels easy. Real growth happens when you execute despite discomfort. That is the mindset that changes lives. And remember this, your future self is created by what you repeat daily, not occasionally, daily. So choose habits that build strength. Choose routines that build confidence. Choose discipline over excuses, again and again and again, until the old version of you disappears completely. Because over the next 60 days, you are not just changing routines. You are rebuilding your identity. But there is still one major obstacle that destroys countless people before they reach transformation: the addiction to validation. And in the next chapter, you're going to learn why powerful people stop seeking attention and start building in silence. Chapter 4. Stop seeking validation and start building in silence. Most people are addicted to attention, not growth. Attention. That is why they constantly announce goals they never accomplish. They talk too much, post too much, explain too much, and execute too little. Listen carefully. The need for validation is one of the biggest obstacles to transformation. Because the moment your focus becomes external, the discipline becomes weak. You stop building your life for yourself and start performing for other people. That is dangerous, very dangerous. Weak people need to be noticed. Powerful people need to improve. Weak people chase applause. Powerful people chase progress. There's a difference. And the world is filled with people obsessed with appearances instead of results. They want to look successful, look disciplined, look motivated. But real transformation does not happen publicly. It happens privately, in silence, in repetition, in discipline nobody sees. That is why powerful people move differently. They understand something average people never learn. Talking creates the illusion of progress. But illusion is not achievement. Anybody can announce a goal. Anybody can say they are going to change. Anybody can post motivational quotes. Very few people can stay disciplined long enough to actually transform. That is why silence matters. Silence protects focus. Silence protects energy. Silence protects momentum. When you constantly tell everybody your plans, you weaken your execution. Because attention gives temporary satisfaction before the work is complete. Your brain feels rewarded too early. And eventually the excitement disappears while the work remains unfinished. Stop doing that. Stop announcing every move. Stop explaining your vision to people who have no vision themselves. Not everybody deserves access to your goals. Some people secretly want you to stay average because your ambition reminds them of their excuses. Some people laugh at discipline because they abandoned their own potential years ago. And weak minds absorb negativity easily. That is why you must protect your energy aggressively. Protect your focus. Protect your routines. Protect your dreams. And build quietly. Understand this clearly. You do not need everybody to understand your journey. You need discipline. You do not need constant support. You need consistency. You do not need applause. You need execution. Because at the end of the day, results speak louder than words ever will. People respect outcomes, not promises. Anybody can promise transformation. Very few people can earn it. That is why real confidence is quiet. Real confidence does not constantly seek attention. It does not beg for approval. It does not need validation from strangers. Because disciplined people know their value internally. An internal confidence is far more powerful than external praise. Look around carefully. Most people are exhausted because they're constantly performing. Trying to impress people, trying to fit in, trying to be accepted, trying to look successful online. Meanwhile, their real life is falling apart privately. That is the cost of validation addiction. You sacrifice your future trying to maintain an image. But an image is not a life. A powerful life is built through private discipline. Early mornings nobody sees. Work nobody applauds. Sacrifices nobody understands. That is how real transformation happens. Quietly, painfully, repeatedly. And yes, silence will feel uncomfortable at first, because modern society trains people to constantly seek attention. People cannot eat without posting it, cannot work without announcing it, cannot improve without demanding recognition for it. But the strongest people in the world understand patience. They understand delayed gratification. They understand that growth happens underground first. Like roots before a tree. Nobody sees the roots growing. Nobody applauds the roots growing. But eventually the results become impossible to ignore. That is exactly how your next 60 days must look. Quiet growth, private discipline, focused execution, no unnecessary announcements, no constant explanations, no wasted energy. Just work, consistent work, because transformation loves silence. Listen carefully. You do not owe people updates about your life. You do not owe people explanations for your growth. You do not owe people proof of your potential. Your responsibility is not to impress others. Your responsibility is to become stronger. Mentally, physically, emotionally, financially. That is the mission. And another dangerous habit you must eliminate is comparison. Comparison destroys focus. The moment you constantly compare yourself to other people, your energy disappears. Your confidence weakens. Your discipline weakens. Because now your attention is focused outward instead of inward. That must stop immediately. Everybody has different timing, different struggles, different opportunities, different battles nobody sees. So stop comparing your beginning to somebody else's middle. Stop measuring your progress against people online. Focus on your own growth, your own habits, your own mission. Because comparison creates insecurity, but focus creates power. And power is built through consistent self-improvement, not through observing everybody else. The truth is simple. The next 60 days can completely rebuild your life, but only if your attention returns to yourself. Not social approval, not validation, not distractions. Yourself. That means less talking, less explaining, less performing, and more building, more discipline, more execution, more growth. Disappear for a while if necessary. Distance yourself from noise. Distance yourself from distractions. Distance yourself from people who drain your ambition. And use that silence to rebuild yourself completely. Because 1 year from now, nobody will care how loudly you announce your goals. They will only see the results. And results silence doubt automatically. That is why successful people let their work speak. Their discipline speaks. Their habits speak. Their transformation speaks. Not endless words. Remember this. The strongest revenge is success. The strongest response is growth. The strongest statement is becoming unrecognizable through discipline. And that transformation begins the moment you stop seeking validation from the world and start building yourself in silence. Because over the next 60 days, you're not trying to impress people. You're trying to rebuild your entire identity. And in the next chapter, you are going to discover the final truth that separates average people from powerful people. How to become someone your old self would envy. Chapter 5. Become someone your old self would envy. Imagine meeting the version of yourself from 2 months ago. The distracted version. The undisciplined version. The version filled with excuses, delays, bad habits, wasted time, and weak routines. Now imagine that old version looking at who you are becoming. Stronger, calmer, more focused, more disciplined, more confident, more mentally powerful. That is transformation. And it does not happen by accident. It happens through daily decisions repeated long enough to change your identity. Listen carefully. Most people never change because they never fully commit. They want transformation without sacrifice, growth without discomfort, success without discipline. Impossible. Every powerful version of yourself is hidden behind difficult decisions, difficult mornings, difficult workouts, difficult sacrifices, difficult discipline. That is the price of becoming stronger. And weak people refuse to pay it. That is why they stay trapped in the same cycle for years. Excuses, distractions, comfort, regret, again and again. But you're different now, because now you understand something powerful. Temporary pain creates permanent growth, and temporary comfort creates permanent regret. There's a massive difference between those two paths. One path feels easy now, but painful later. The other path feels painful now, but powerful later. Most people choose immediate comfort. Disciplined people choose long-term transformation. That is why disciplined people eventually separate themselves from everybody else. Not because they are more talented, because they stay focused longer. They stay committed longer. They stay disciplined longer. And consistency always wins eventually. Understand this clearly. You are only one disciplined season away from a completely different life. One season, one period of complete focus, one stretch of relentless discipline. That is enough to rebuild your confidence, your body, your mindset, your habits, and your future. But only if you stop returning to your old self. That is the real battle. Not starting, continuing. Because your old habits will constantly try to pull you backward. Your old mindset will whisper excuses. Your old routines will try to return. Comfort will tempt you. Distractions will tempt you. Weakness will tempt you. That is why mental strength matters so much. Mental strength is choosing growth even when comfort feels easier. Mental strength is staying disciplined without external motivation. Mental strength is continuing when nobody notices your effort. That is where transformation happens. Quietly, internally, before it ever becomes visible externally. Most people quit too early because they expect immediate results. But powerful people understand delayed gratification. They understand that success is earned invisibly first. You train daily before the body changes. You work consistently before money increases. You build discipline privately before confidence appears publicly. Everything powerful happens slowly first. That is why patience matters. Not lazy patience. Disciplined patience. There is a difference. Lazy patience waits passively. Disciplined patience keeps working while results are invisible. That is the mindset that changes lives. Listen carefully. The next version of you already exists. The stronger version, the healthier version, the focused version, the disciplined version, the confident version. But that version only appears when your habits align with your goals. Not your wishes, your habits. Because identity is built through repetition. If you repeatedly act disciplined, eventually you become disciplined. If you repeatedly choose growth, eventually growth becomes natural. That is how identity changes. And once your identity changes, your entire life changes automatically. Your standards rise. Your mindset improves. Your confidence increases. Because now you're no longer fighting yourself every day. Now your habits support your future instead of destroying it. That is freedom. Most people are imprisoned by their own behavior, their own distractions, their own emotional weakness, their own excuses. But disciplined people escape that prison because they control themselves. And self-control is one of the highest forms of power. Imagine how your life could look after 60 days of complete focus. Imagine waking up earlier consistently, training consistently, thinking clearly, protecting your energy, working without excuses. Imagine becoming emotionally stronger, more confident, more respected, more disciplined. That future is possible, not for special people, for committed people. That is the difference. Commitment changes lives. Most people try temporarily. Powerful people commit completely. They remove distractions. They protect focus. They execute daily. And eventually their entire life transforms. That could become your reality too, but only if you stay disciplined long enough. Because consistency creates momentum, and momentum creates transformation. One disciplined day becomes one disciplined week. One disciplined week becomes one disciplined month. One disciplined month becomes a completely different identity. That is how your old self disappears. Not instantly, repeatedly, through disciplined action, every single day. And understand something important. You do not need to become perfect. Perfection is not the goal. Progress is the goal. Daily progress. Consistent progress. Because small improvements repeated daily create massive results over time. That is the secret most people ignore. Small actions become powerful outcomes when repeated long enough. That is why your next 60 days matters so much. 60 days of discipline can create momentum that changes the next 60 years of your life. Think about that carefully. Your future is being built right now. Today, not tomorrow. Right now. Through your decisions. Through your routines. Through your standards. That means every moment matters now. Every choice matters now. Every habit matters now. Because your future self is watching your current behavior. And one day you will either thank yourself or regret wasting your potential. Make the correct choice. Choose discipline. Choose growth. Choose focus. Choose transformation. Again and again and again. Until your old self becomes unrecognizable. Because the goal of the next 60 days is not temporary motivation. It is permanent identity change. You are not trying to feel inspired. You are trying to become stronger, mentally stronger, emotionally stronger, physically stronger, financially stronger, spiritually stronger. That is real transformation. And the beautiful thing is this. Once discipline becomes your identity, nobody can take your power away. Not failure, not criticism, not difficult seasons. Because disciplined people always rebuild stronger. Always. So as this journey ends, remember one final truth. The next 60 days will pass no matter what. The question is simple. Will you waste them, or will you use them to become someone your old self would envy? 2 months from now, you can either remain the same person or become someone completely different. Because change does not happen by accident. It happens through discipline, through sacrifice, through consistency, through focus repeated every single day. Most people will hear these lessons and do nothing. They will return to distractions, return to excuses, return to comfort. But a small percentage of people will decide that enough is enough. They will wake up early, train harder, think differently, protect their energy, build discipline, and completely transform their life. The question is simple. Which person will you become? The weak version that keeps delaying change, or the focused version willing to suffer temporarily to win permanently? The next 60 days will pass no matter what. So use them. Disappear from distractions. Build yourself in silence. Stay disciplined when it becomes difficult. And when these 2 months are over, make sure your old life cannot recognize you anymore.